Hello everyone, back tuning in today's second video. So, what is your weekend forecast? So you can find that video here on the homepage. Just scroll down page a little bit and it's above Snow Desk. And there's also the written version. You get that from buttons at the top of the page. Going to be seeing some much warmer weather coming up in the week ahead. In fact, we are going to have a taste of summer through this week. So have a look at weekend forecast. It is quite a interesting one, to say the least. This is the CFS 6 Month Look-Ahead. It does exactly what the name says on the tin, because we're going to go 6 months ahead with the long range CFS V2 model. And this is going to take us from next month, from May, right way through to October 2018. Can you believe it? Is just for fun. The first couple of months have some sort of scientific merit to them, because if the model is working correctly, then hopefully it's picking up on the signals for months 1 and 2. But as you go sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 months away, it's just to show you what the model is predicting at the moment for this time scale. But don't, whatever you do, take anything too seriously. So it's going to encompass the rest of the spring, or the final month of the spring, and the summer, and then on into the autumn of 2018. So if you're interested in what the summer might do, hang around and you'll get a bit of a snapshot from the CFS. But do bear in mind that beyond June, it is very much a case of being just for fun. So the link to the CFS website is on the links page. You can have a look at these charts for yourself if you would like to do that. As I've already told you about weekend forecast, I think that pretty much covers everything. Tomorrow we're going to have the Gazzo Study Roundup, and there'll be some summer analogues, but I'll talk you through that at the end of the video. So let's get on. We're going to start off with the 700 millibar height anomalies for the next 6 months, and then we'll have a look at the corresponding temperature and the corresponding precipitation anomalies that go with those heights. So we're beginning with month 1, which is May 2018. Now, if everything is working correctly, then this should be kind of like the most reliable part of the whole update. So this 700 millibar height anomaly for May 2018. And, well, unfortunately, there's not a huge amount to go on. So, it's the same idea of any height anomaly chart, what we see here. Blue sort of extrapolates to below average heights, that's low pressure. Yellow, orange, red extrapolates to above average heights, which is high pressure. And essentially, there's not much of a signal anywhere across sort of the Atlantic or Europe. We do have a little bit of a above average heights area there across central parts of Europe. If you come over here, we can see it there. But otherwise, there really isn't very much to go on for May, and you often see this with CFS V2, that it struggles to pick up the signal, but it's quite unusual to get that for month 1. So already we're struggling a little bit here to try and find something to talk about for May. I suppose what you would say is that it's going for basically an average type setup in May, but again, there isn't very much to talk about. It might be that it just isn't picking up much of a signal. This is how things look in June, and the signal is a little bit stronger in June. So we've got an area of above average heights then close to the UK and also over to our east. So that looks quite decent for June, actually. That looks okay. We could be sending a jet stream up there as well, so we might be going on to the milder side of the jet. But interesting that that's a stronger signal for month 2 than we've got for month 1. So obviously the model is struggling a lot with May, and it does mean that there is an extra health warning, I think, with anything that's following along from May, because if it's already struggling in month 1, then obviously months 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, they could be more unreliable than normal, and they are unreliable anyway. But on the face of it, that doesn't look too bad for June. This is how July is looking, and above average heights then are moving more towards our north. So the issue with that, whenever you get high pressure or above average heights going to the north of the British Isles, it can be okay. If you extend the ridge down across the UK and western parts of Europe and get an extension from a high pressure, and it can be all right. But what normally happens when you get high pressure going up here, and the model doesn't really show it, but what normally happens when high pressure is up there is that you'll get low pressure setting itself up underneath it. So that's a little bit dicey, I think, that one. It might be okay, might be relatively dry and quite warm, but there's a big danger of having that high pressure being to the north of the British Isles in the form of some sort of trough forming underneath it. And then this is how August is looking, and that risk, again, continues into August. Now, we've gone up to month 4 now, of course, so we are in the very unreliable time frame. We're in the round being just for fun. But the model wants to take that high pressure even further north, sending it to the north of Scandinavia. And at that point, we really would be at risk of running the jet stream underneath it and getting an area of low pressure across much of Central and Western Europe as well. If you come over here, when you see how far north that high pressure is, it's basically centering up towards Svalbard. And in the summer, that's almost certainly going to produce low pressure underneath it. So it looks like it's a bit of a deteriorating pattern, really, this summer. It starts off not too bad in June, but it's gradually getting worse. By the time we get through to August, I think it could be in quite a cool and unsettled and wet pattern. We go through to September. We're at month 5 now, so don't worry about any of this, really. But we've got below average heights then out to the west-northwest of the British Isles, and we bring the jet stream through on quite a flat sort of westerly flow like that. So it's unsettled in September, and probably quite westerly as well. And then October, month 6, just for fun, October is looking like this. So we have above average heights out in the sort of northwestern part of the Atlantic, below average heights up towards Greenland, and above average heights again over towards Scandinavia. That's a fairly common theme with this model this month, to have high pressure blocking up to the northeast, which is quite interesting. In terms of the jet stream, there's not much to go on, but I suspect we will probably be bringing the jet stream through like that, through the gap with this ridge up here, this ridge over there. I think in between we'll probably bring the jet stream through. So probably quite a coolish and unsettled month. But as it's 6 months away, it isn't worth giving too much thought to that. Let's have a look at the temperature anomalies then. So this is how the temperature anomalies are looking for May. And again, really, really weak signals for May. Just very little to go on at all. What we can say is that northern parts of Scandinavia have quite a strong signal, have a warmer than average month. Parts of southeastern Europe also have a little bit of a signal for warmer than average month. But really, for most parts of sort of central western Europe, this area just here, there isn't very much to go on at all, and if anything, you will probably be inching that towards the cooler than average side, purely because this model tends to overcook the temperatures a little bit. So if the model for any given time period is forecasting an average temperature anomaly, you can usually say that what's actually going to happen is that you'll probably come out a bit cooler than the model is forecast. So you probably, if it's forecast average temperatures, you'll probably come out a little bit underneath the average. But again, it's a very, very weak signal for May. Nothing really to go on at all there. This is how June is looking now. June's shaping up to be a very nice month, I think, actually, for most parts of Europe. So we've got warmer than average temperature anomalies over Scandinavia. We've got warmer than average temperature anomalies across most parts of Europe as well. For the UK and Ireland, we are closer to average. Scotland's a little bit above average. But I think we have a greater chance, anyway, there of having a warmer month in June compared to May, purely because there's so much warmth being forecast for much of Europe. So June is a chance, it may not come off, but June is a chance of being, or has a chance of being, quite a warmish month. That fades away as we go through into July. So this is how July is looking. Month 3, so reliability is falling, but in July we start to see those warmer than average temperature anomalies sort of draining over towards the east and far northeast of Europe, with most parts of Western Europe, again, very weak signals for the temperatures, but most parts of Western Europe are coming out just with average to maybe a little bit on the cooler than average side. Remember, these are anomalies to average. So, for example, it's going for a cooler than average temperature anomaly for central Spain in July. But, of course, that's still going to be very, very hot, even if temperatures are coming out a little bit below average in central Spain in July. Because it's a really hot time of the year in that part of the world, temperatures will still be very hot. So you always have to bear that in mind when you're talking about anomalies. So although there's blue across Spain, it will still be very hot for them. For us in the UK, again, it's just average temperatures, no signal particularly either way. That's how August looks. You just had a little sneak peek at August because I got a little bit mixed up with the chart, so eagle-eyed viewers will have noticed that, I'm sure. And again, in August, it just continues. Again, there's no real warm signal anywhere across Europe except the very far north of Scandinavia and some areas over towards the east and southeast of Europe. But for the UK, for Ireland, for much of Central and Western Europe, again, it's a very weak signal with average temperatures being forecast. Is the model going for all of this average through the summer months, because that is what we're going to finish up with, just average temperatures through the summer months? Or is it just that it hasn't really got the signal yet? It hasn't really worked out what the height anomalies and the pressure is going to do, and so because of that, it's not working out how things are going to stack up with temperature and precipitation. It will be interesting to see what this model is showing next month of the summer. At the moment, the signals do seem to be very, very weak indeed. This goes on into September. Again, no real temperature signal anywhere across Europe except in the far north, Scandinavia, where it's coming out a bit warmer than average there. But essentially, most parts of Europe coming out with just average temperatures again, or temperature anomalies again, in September. And October rounds it all off. So it's a bit of a write-off this month, really, in terms of finding things to talk about. The model is, I think, certainly by August, September, October, the model just hasn't got a signal for where temperatures are going to be. So I think the model is struggling greatly, and therefore that's why we're seeing all of this sort of white average climatology type stuff for the temperatures. Let's see if the precipitation is any more enlightening. So we come back to May. Again, remember, May is month 1, so it should be the most reliable part out of all of this. May is coming out. Actually, it's looking okay from a rainfall perspective. May is coming out with average rainfall for much of central Britain anyway, coming out with drier than average rainfall, and much of northern Europe coming out with drier than average rainfall as well, and down in the southeast Europe. It does look a bit wetter down here in the southwestern part of Europe. But overall, a little bit drier than average for May, but no real signal for precipitation or no real signal for temperature, I should say, or for pressure. This is how June is looking. Now, June's looking okay as well from precipitation perspective, coming out drier than average, quite substantially so, for many sort of central and western parts of Europe. And of course, the British Isles and Ireland is included in that. It does look quite a wet month down across southern parts of France, down to Spain and Portugal, interestingly. But I think June could be a decent start to the summer here. You know, I think we could get a reasonable spell of weather going during June, and I think that might be the best of it if this is right. It's only 2 months away. June might be the best of the summer months, but we'll have to wait and see on that, of course. Now we go through to July, and we are losing that drier than average signal, with precipitation just generally increasing a little bit. It's not a dramatic change. Some parts of the UK are still coming out drier than average, even in July. But obviously, comparing June to July, it does look as though it's probably a rather more unsettled month in July, with precipitation going closer to average compared to that dry month that we get in June across much of Northern Europe. And then August, it looks like it's deteriorating. So wasn't especially evident from the temperatures, but from a pressure and from a precipitation perspective, it looks like we're looking at a front-loaded summer here, which is that we have the warm and dry weather in the front part of the summer, the early part of the summer, June, and then we gradually deteriorate things as we go through the summer. So by the time we get through to August, towards the end of the summer, actually the precipitation anomalies are going more towards the wetter than average side, away from Scandinavia anyway. Scandinavia, particularly northern Scandinavia, still coming out drier than average up there. But for the UK, for Ireland, for France, it looks like the pattern deteriorates as we go further into the summer. By August, probably facing a wetter than average season. Remember, that's because we've got the blocking setting up to the north. By August, it'll be... so let's go back to June. In June, the model wants to have the high pressure signal to be around this sort of area. So what that does is that it brings a lot of dry and pretty warm weather across much of Europe on those sort of southeasterly type winds. In July, the model wants to take the high pressure up to here. So we have a high pressure centering just to the north of the British Isles, in that sort of area, which then starts to allow low pressure, I think, to develop underneath. And it probably takes a while to do so. And it may involve a little bit of a battle, actually. So the low pressure is trying to bring the air up from the south. We've got high pressure up to the northeast, maybe involving some hot weather and thunder initially, and then turning a little bit more unsettled. And then by August, the model wants to take the high pressure even further north. By August, the high pressure is centering up there, and it becomes a proper sort of northern blocking type signal. And when that happens in the summer months, you'll nearly always generate low pressure around here, and you'll send the jet stream southwards as well. So the pattern deteriorates through the summer. We start off with a decent pattern for June. By August, we've gone into an unsettled pattern. And then go through to September. Remember, this one was a bit different because it's quite westerly. It's month 5, so we won't talk about it for too long. But it has low pressure up there, and it brings in sort of a westerly flow. And because of that, it's a slightly, it's a wetter than average month in September. And then October flips things around, and we actually go a little bit drier than average in October. That's 6 months away. It's just for fun. We had an unusual pattern in October with high pressure up there. Low pressure was around there. And then if we assume that America is sort of over there, and Canada, Newfoundland, got some high pressure over there. So it was all a bit messy in October. I thought the jet stream would probably be going through the gap. But obviously, the model actually wants us to have a rather drier than average month in October. We won't worry about that. We've got enough to be going on with in the next 3 months, because it looks as though we've got a weak signal for May. So already we are struggling quite a lot for May. And because of that, you have to have a big health warning about anything that's following on, because if a model hasn't got things right for May, then that probably impacts what it's doing in subsequent months. But in May, it looks like we're going to have a reasonably dryish month if model is correct. No particular signal for temperature or for pressure either. June looks decent to me. June looks like it could be okay. The summer might start off with some quite warm and dry weather, but it looks like it's deteriorates as we go further into the summer. So July becomes cooler and more unsettled, and then by the time you get through to August, probably a little bit of an early autumn. But of course, it's all subject to change. This model is unreliable at the best of times, so it could all look very different next month. It's just a snapshot, this, of what the model is doing today. Well, recording the video, it's a snapshot to tell you where the model wants to take things in the next 6 months, but next month it could all be totally different. Right, so that's CFS 6 Month Look-Ahead done for April. Tomorrow we've got the Gazzo City Roundup. We'll have some summer analogues. They're going to be quite interesting too. So come back to all of the updates tomorrow. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.